So a couple days ago, someone asked me a really interesting question, which is it important to learn traditional art, traditional painting, if you're going to be a digital painter? And I had a really hard time clearly answering that question. In fact, I still find it to be a rather hard question to just give a simple answer to, partly because I'm biased. I started with traditional paint. I started with oil paints, and that greatly informed my approach when I came to digital. Um, However, learning digital, I took what I learned doing digital painting back into oil painting, and that it informed it the other way in definite ways as well. So it's a very teasing apart this answer to find what my answer to this question really is has been kind of a challenge for me, and that's why I'm making a video about it, so I can ramble on about it for at least a few minutes and think about it. So here's the thing: like, there's nothing about oil paint that is going specifically to teach you how to digital paint. There's a lot of, if you take up oil painting, there's a lot of stuff you'll learn there that just doesn't apply digitally. You know, how do you, like, there's a proper way to deal with solvent. You know, there's a proper way to do certain mixing. Like, mixing paints is its own art that in many ways maybe there are some things you can learn and carry over to digital, but a lot of it is just physical and applies only to oils and won't even apply to acrylics, won't apply to any other thing. You know, whatever paints you get, you'll learn certain nuances of how, like you can't cover up things with yellow. Like, that's not true in digital. In digital, you can just, like, any paint can be as opaque as you want it to be. I mean, I think there might still be there's some ways that you can make it act more traditionally, but here's the other thing. While you could, in theory, just learn everything digitally, you might not be able to find teachers of digital painting as readily as you would find oil painting teachers. And there's, like, I think a lot you could learn from oil painting teachers that you're not necessarily going to get just following YouTube tutorials about digital painting. I mean, there's, I'm sure, tons of crossover, but spending a bit of time taking a class and learning how to oil paint there's some things that you will learn by creating art and having someone who is experienced with that material, like, tell you what you did successfully and give you advice on what specifically how you could approach it differently, that will carry over. You know, if you're working on a still life, a teacher can tell you, like, hey, your whites are too white here, like, tone it down a little. And that's something that you might not be able to do without the help of a teacher, or at least a community of people. And if you can find that among digital painters, like, that's great. Do that. Like, if you can find that with sketchers, do that. With cartoonists, do that. Just making those connections is a good thing. So the answer is still kind of yeah and no. Yeah, like, yes and no. Like, you do, like, I would actually recommend eventually, like, if do a bunch of digital painting and then go ahead and become pro at it. But I think eventually I'd recommend picking up some oil paints and going for it, if for no other reason than just to expand your horizons, just to do a thing you're already doing with an added level of just some newness, you know, something new and exciting. But if you're brand new to digital painting, brand new to oil, I don't see the point of learning both simultaneously. I I would for the time being focus really hard in on the digital painting for this person, for the person who asked this question. At this point, I'm just talking to that person, but I would focus on learning the digital stuff, and a little bit down the road, save a little bit of money, get some good oils, and take an oil painting class, or just just a workshop or something. And I highly recommend getting good paints and just diving right in and doing that. I don't think there's a whole lot that you'll learn or that will carry over from just fiddling around with some acrylics, and like I don't think there's a lot you'll carry over from that into digital painting, other than the fact that you can do it while not sitting at a desk. So like maybe that's a huge plus. That alone is a good reason to do traditional art, and that alone is a reason why I have sketchbooks and pen nibs and markers and paints, is because I can do that when I'm not sitting at a computer. It is so, my back and neck are like, I want to draw all the time, but my back and neck won't always allow it. So, here's where we get into the old man gripes. Yeah, I can't think of much else I want to ramble about, but those are my points I wanted to make about traditional art is good, digital art is good, and learn from whoever you can find to learn all of this stuff from. Look at oil paints, look at digital paintings, and break them down and learn how they did the things they did. And for that purpose alone, taking a class in oil painting will absolutely make you a better digital painter. But like I said, I think this is what I said to the person at the time, was like, taking a sculpture class will make you a better painter too. So it's not, I wouldn't put it as like a must, like you can't digital paint if you aren't also an oil painter. Like, then there's carryover, and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't carry over. There's a lot of dumb stuff you have to do with oil paint that digital lets you just bypass. And learning to do that dumb stuff just for the sake of knowing how lucky you have it, that's kind of an old person thought. That is exactly the kind of thing that an old codger like me is going to say if they just want to make sure you've suffered in the same way they have in order to get where they have. Anyway, that's about all I want to say. I'll be drawing more this week. Every night this week, I'll be streaming twitch.com/treeversusrobot. And thank you much. Subscribe and have a good evening.